Joining me now from Greenwich, Connecticut, political activist and contributor for America's Voice News, Tom Borelli. He's a PhD as well. Tom, great to see you.
Great to see you, Stephanie.
Tom, I think it's kind of interesting that Biden's coming out and talking about how he's for reopening schools like it's his idea and, that he's been pushing for this for quite some time, when actually it's not a new idea. And President Trump, I believe almost like a month ago, and has been talking about this forever, is that we should reopen schools. President Trump has been for that. And it's mostly the Democrats and, the scientists who want to keep it shut down.
Excellent point, Stephanie. Look, former Vice President Joe Biden is always behind the times. It's simple as that. He was behind the times with the overall coronavirus response. Remember, he was the one who criticized President Trump when President Trump stopped travel from China in January. I think it was January 31st. Biden didn't have a problem with that. So now he's trying to play catch up. The big picture here is Biden is trying to exploit this black swan Wuhan, China virus for his political gain. So he's out there flailing around, late to the game on almost everything, just trying to draw attention to him. Because after all, he really doesn't have much else. And keep in mind, it's the teachers' unions that are really slowing the openings of the schools. And when it comes to more money for schools, let's not forget that Speaker Pelosi, when she's not trying to get her hair done without a mask, she's blocking coronavirus relief for money, including schools. So the whole idea that Biden is really floating is it's really just a fraud.
Yeah, the teachers' unions are very against reopening schools. And again, and when I said scientists, I mean, we hear in the media only the scientists that are against reopening schools. And then when we have doctors and medical professionals and experts who talk about how it's actually a low-risk environment, we don't hear much for them. They don't want to talk about that. They want to just talk about the stories that will instill fear into parents and to schools and teachers. And, the teachers' unions have their own motives, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, it's really incredible how they want to censor the doctors who explain why it's low risk.
Correct, Stephanie. Look, the data shows that those who are the youngest are least really vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus, the least. It's really the people who are older and those with pre-existing conditions. Look, the general flu every year is much bigger of a risk to school-age children, and we don't close down the schools. But this is all politics. This is an election year, about 2 months out. So again, the Democrats are going to try to exploit every move, any change to try to make President Trump look bad. But it's hard because President Trump has done a fantastic job with respect to the coronavirus. And look, they just announced we may have a vaccine like in a month or two because of Operation Warp Speed. Only President Trump, a former businessman, would know how to work with industry to give them incentives to put them on the right direction. Biden could never do that.
Yeah, and again, I'm not downplaying the virus, and I think that there should be a way for schools to reopen safely, and a lot of schools do have ideas for that, and we're starting to see some schools implement those ideas. But this whole notion that we need to be shut down, or if just some people test positive, that we have to shut it all down, it doesn't really make any sense. Now, Biden, again, he's giving all this advice on how to handle a pandemic. Well, he handled H1N1, the swine flu, and it didn't really go that smoothly. The only reason more Americans didn't die, according to experts, was because they got lucky.
No, that's absolutely true. They did a bad job in H1N1. Former President Obama and former Vice President Joe Biden, I think they depleted a lot of our stocks of the masks and the ventilators because that's the way they did things. They were really incompetent. And they also blew it with Ebola as well. There was a charity that on their own flew back someone who had Ebola from Africa because the CDC at the time couldn't make up a decision. So Biden has a track record of really bad policy. Former defense head under Obama, Robert Gates, said Biden has never made a right decision. We should keep that in mind as voters go to a poll. If the man can't make a right decision, the last thing we need is him in the White House.
Yeah, and now we're seeing Biden kind of backtracking on the national mask mandate, which when he said that, I was like, seriously? There are some places in this country where you wouldn't necessarily need to wear a mask. And so for him to think that everywhere was like New York City or San Francisco just shows how out of touch he is.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.